Welcome to Between the Sundays. Thank you for joining me today. I get the privilege today of interviewing Jenna and David Cruisenberry, and they have been sweet enough to let me talk to them and just hear some of their story, and they want to share it with you too. So I'm looking forward to hearing it all myself, actually. So I'll just let David start, and he's going to talk about, I'll just tell you a little bit about himself right now.
About ourselves. Yeah, we grew up in this area. I met Jenna when I was, 16, 17?
17.
Yeah, so we were kind of like high school sweethearts.
We were high school sweethearts.
Towards the end of senior year, yeah. So we've known each other for 15 years. Been married for 9. We got 2 kids together, 6 and 3. So, yeah, lived in this, I just mentioned I lived in this area all our life, yeah.
And you've just started into a new job.
Yes, so I'm in law enforcement now, but before I had a business that I owned that my grandmother had started when, 1984 or so. So yeah, I owned that for 6 years, realized that that wasn't God's plan for my life, even though I really, really wanted to stay in that. He said, you need to go do law enforcement, and we decided that we should go ahead and move forward with that. So here I am now, yeah.
Oh. I'm just going to ask you real quick if you what led you to know that?
I think God was revealing to me multiple times throughout the business, because the business just kept getting harder, and it was harder for our family, and I was thinking to myself, for some reason, this isn't working. I feel like, to me, it felt like this was my calling, because it was my grandmother's business before it was mine, and then it seemed like at the time, I don't know, it was a good idea. But then it kept getting harder and harder. And Jenna and I would make changes, and it kept getting harder. And I was thinking, this can't be real life. This can't be my plan now. So randomly one night, I was watching TV, and I was watching like a law enforcement show. And I was like, that's interesting. I wonder if I'd be good at that. So I asked Jenna, I was like, do you think I'd be good at law enforcement? And she's like, yeah, I think you would be good at that.
Now, I wasn't super excited about it. I wasn't ready for him yet at that time, because this was about 2.5 years ago, about. And I was like, yeah, I think you'd be an excellent police officer, but I was scared to death.
Yeah.
I didn't feel ready at that time, and I think that's when we kind of started pushing it away.
Mm-hmm.
And that
we did that multiple
several times, yeah.
Because I felt in my heart that the business, I was supposed to be a business owner. That was my job here, and just didn't feel any spark behind that, but I felt like that's where I was supposed to be. So then we were like, okay, so I kept feeling that pull to law enforcement, and I was like, okay, I'll follow this path, God. I'll go apply. So we found out one of my very first job that I wanted came up.
The agency, San Joaquin County.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So then I was like, okay, I'll appease you. I'll apply. So
all the time we're like, haha, God, okay,
this is really gonna work.
We're gonna do it.
Yeah. So lo and behold,
yeah.
So what was it? 10 months of background checks and the application process in general. If it wasn't, every single door was just wide open, and I was like, walk through that door, and wow, okay, well, I guess we'll just move on to the next one, and then move on to the next one, and then the more we went through the process, and we're still in that process now, but the more we went through that, we were like, okay, yeah, this must be what it is, because I definitely didn't feel comfortable where I was at. I don't feel comfortable where I'm at now, but I know that I'm starting to realize that this is where I'm supposed to be. And
over the years of
just a piece, kind of.
Yeah, there were just several points throughout owning the business where there were just times where I called them kind of like come to Jesus moments. I would just start praying to God. I knew we needed change, but I had no idea what that change looked like. And I would just go to him, and I would just be so frustrated. And I'm like, you're working all the time. We never see you. You know, we got to make changes. And so we would make changes. We do little things. He'd do little things, and it'd get better for a little bit. And then something would happen, and then we were right back down. And I'm like at the depths of despair again. Like, this isn't working, and so...
Yeah, what we had with business ownership, it was definitely putting a stress on our marriage and putting a stress on how we were raising our children.
Yeah.
So it was that.
Yeah, you were missing out on a lot. I mean, to spend time with family, it was a sacrifice. And he would spend time with us, take the time off, but then in the back of his mind, it was always what's waiting for me, because work is now being set aside, and that's just no way to live your life, in my opinion. It wasn't good for us. It wasn't healthy for us.
Yeah.
So.
And I know you've said that the Lord just gave you peace about, has given you a real peace about it
When
too.
it finally, it took all of that 2 years for God to work on my heart, I think. That's exactly why it took as long as it did. And when it finally happened, when he put that application in, I was so excited.
Yeah.
Never in a million years would I have thought, well, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, would I thought I'd be excited about it. And even now, today, I don't worry at all about him out on the streets, because I see how he's changed and what the Lord has done in his life through this, and how he's just so much more alive. He's so much more happy. He gets to actually
really
work
neat.
out now. He spends so much. He gets to spend when he's off. He's off. I mean, that's kind of like one of the biggest things. Is like when he's off, he's off. But it's more so just seeing this light in his eyes again that hasn't been there for 6 years. Over 6 years of owning that business, and that's what gives me peace. I really feel like I can see that this is truly where God wants him, and that's what helps me be at ease.
Yeah.
So.
Because God's in control, right?
Yeah, totally.
And taking care of him. And I know that you have a job,
I
and
do.
you're a mother, and your job is pretty
It's not as exciting.
responsible, but you have a lot of responsibility.
I do. Yeah, I'm a business relationship manager for regulatory compliance at Delicado Family Wines.
Okay.
That job was a total God thing too. I found myself unemployed at 7 months pregnant with our first daughter in 2012.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, David's great aunt was like, "Hey, we have temp positions here." She worked at Delicado. I applied as a temp. I worked there for a month and a half before I got taken off of work. And then that was enough for me to show my work ethic and dedication. And I left, had Jacqueline, came back after 8 weeks of maternity leave, and I was hired on full time with Delicado. And that's just been, door after door has opened for me there, and I'm so grateful for that. And that's nothing more than a God thing too. Like I really can't take credit. I know my hard work ethic has a lot to do with it, but
sure.
total God thing. Very thankful for that job.
Good. That's so wonderful. And like I actually became more aware of them through Facebook, and we were just talking about that and how real and raw Jenna is, and how much she's talked about how much change the Lord has brought in their life. And that's part of the reason I asked them here today, is because I know they've gone through a lot of changes personally and in their marriage, and that she's written about, and I've just been so touched by it. And I really love to focus on God working right now, still in our lives, not just in the Bible, but he is still at work. And that's exciting. And so I wanted them just to share a little bit about how God has worked in their life, and what really brought about the biggest change for you.
Yeah, so I think there's been numerous occasions, and I'll touch on them briefly.
Yeah.
I'm sure there could be many videos that we make that we can touch more in depth, I think, on other things. But there's definitely been, I think, specific moments in our marriage and things that have happened that have really kind of led us to where we are today.
So first of all, like we were both raised. I wasn't raised in necessarily a Christian home, but the way I was raised was Christian values. So I kind of came around to, my grandma helped send me to a private school, 7th and 8th grade. So that's when I came around to kind of knowing who Jesus was. So I accepted God into my life around 7th grade.
Okay.
But there was a period of time where it kind of went away, or I kind of like did my own thing, and then it's kind of the same for you.
Yeah, it's exact same. I was raised in a Christian home. I was raised in a blended family, so my parents were never, I don't have any memory of them ever being together, but my mom really worked hard to raise us in the Catholic faith.
Okay.
And so she took us to church almost every Sunday. When we moved out here to Lodi, I went to a public school, but she kept us in catechism. So the seed for both of us was definitely planted at a very young age. I think what's a theme for both of us, though, is that we're very controlling people. He realizes that more now, I think. But so we started falling away because we wanted to be in control, and we wanted to kind of serve what we wanted to do, and not so much what God wanted to do. So that's how we started, I think, falling away.
And even up to the point where we got married, we were still, I mean, we called ourselves Christians, but I don't know if I would.
You never would have known
Yeah.
it.
We're still walking that, yeah.
Yeah.
Backslidden.
Yeah, most definitely. And then we got married in 2010, and it was about 2011, I would say, when we kind of realized this road that we're going down isn't really working. We're not happy. Something's definitely missing. And I just thought, let's just start going to church, because we did that. I went to church with my grandma when I was younger, and she went to church when she was younger, and it's like, maybe we're missing that aspect of our life. Yeah. So I get on the internet and start looking up churches right in Lodi, and then from that point on, it was like a slow and steady growth of like really getting to know who Jesus is versus like calling ourselves something.
Yeah. It started with him, definitely. He started having this yearning to want to get back into church. I was a little slower. I wasn't really quite ready yet. And then it was 2011. I think it was March 2011. We just had a crazy night out with friends. I do. I remember it, because I remember we just had a crazy night out with friends. Bad decisions were made. We were acting in ways that were just appalling. And I woke up the next day and just said, I can't do this. And I texted him, I think, because I think you were at work, and I was like, we need to go to church. Yeah. Because this what we're doing right now isn't working. And we got to get back to our Creator, who's going to lead us to where we need to be, because we don't have the answers here.
Oh, I
was not proud at all about who we were and what we were doing. So
I'm just curious, did you feel from the time you went in to church, did you kind of feel at ease? Or
not right away.
Did it take you a while?
Oh, it's taken a while. I mean, I think that's a big theme in my faith walk, is that as soon as I, start feeling comfortable, I start feeling good with my walk with the Lord comes in and is like, nope, you got even more to learn. Look at this, and so.
Take you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's constant.
Yeah, it is. It's totally constant. And so, that was like the first step. And, we started, I think, at Bear Creek, and we loved the message. It was good. We knew this is where we needed to be, but that wasn't that place wasn't where we were meant to be. Yeah. And then we ended up at Temple Baptist at the time, now Grace Point, and our first Sunday there, Pastor Perry just nailed it. He does every Sunday, right? I mean, let's be honest. Pastor Perry's amazing.
He is.
And then we had people just immediately walk up to us and welcome us, that recognized we were new and wanted to talk to us and befriend us. And I'm like, this is home. This is where we're meant to be.
Yeah, and I know you've had a mentor, and
Patty O'Hare,
a very good one. And and I didn't even give you that chance, but you may have too. I don't know.
I did actually before Pastor Perry. There was a gentleman from Bear Creek, and that's what kind of got me from going to church to this development in a relationship with Jesus. That I thought you just went to church. That's what you did, and you became a better person. But it's so much more than that, right?
Yeah.
It's this relationship with God, and He taught me. It was like a little small group that I actually learned the most in, like this men's study group at like 6 a.m. And I learned about, my relationship with Jesus versus like just being a good person. There was so much more to life than that. Yeah. So there was
relation. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it's a relationship thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I always encourage people to get into small groups especially when they're new to the church and stuff. I'm like, that is such a great way to get to know, not only to get to know people and to get to know God, but to see people's hearts, because you just can't do that in larger groups. You just can't.
You start to see other people and their struggles that they're having personally, and it stays within the small group, right? And you can reveal a little bit of your real self to these people, and that's what we were talking about earlier. What we do through Facebook as well, we kind of reveal kind of our real life to other people. Yeah,
and it encourages other people as they, like, even through this, you guys are sharing this. It encourages other people to hear God's working in those lives. He can work in my life as well. I just have to allow Him to,
and we're still super messed up. So
let's not walk away from this and think that we're perfect.
We're always learning till the day we die. I really believe that. I
want to make that very clear right now.
As long as you're You know what? And that's good for us to realize, because it's when we get to the point where we think we've got it all together that we're really not doing, what God wants us to. So anyway, I wanted to ask you, I'm sure there's still times when you struggle in marriage, but I know I read Jenna's posts and she adores you. And I just wondered if you have like pointers for ways that you settle disagreements and tips that you have for those that might be struggling with marriage or anything.
So I'll say it.
Yeah, go ahead.
The number one thing, and we always tell people that ask us, we don't really do a lot of battling or anything like that. And I think the reason behind that is because we talk. It is all about communication. We're very real with each other. We try to be understanding towards each other, even though sometimes I disagree.
Yeah.
With
I think empathy is huge.
Yeah.
Empathy is very huge because he's a man, I'm a woman.
Right.
We don't exactly know. We operate different. We don't always know what each other's going through. It's like, hormones, hello.
Right.
But it's just having that empathy
Right.
and trusting each other that, when we bring something up, like, then we really need to talk about it, and so, and that's what we do.
100%.
We talk about it. And
we talk, and that, and if we didn't talk, that's when opinions are formed, or you develop these emotions or animosity, I guess is the word, towards another person. But if we talk about it, we start to realize where each other's hearts are in the situation, that whatever situation we're going through, and then we're able to get through it. So I would say, yeah, everybody we tell, communicate 100%.
And letting him lead. That's something that's been a struggle of mine, just because I have such a controlling personality. I think just from everything, how I grew up and everything that I've been through, I just feel like I just need to kind of like control everything. And I feel like just over the last few years, maybe not even a few, probably maybe a year or two, is I'm just having to sit back and let him lead. That's God, made marriage, and he is the leader of the house and of our faith, of our family.
Something I learned in small group too. Yeah.
And so that's been a struggle for me, but it's been really great to just, I can release control. I don't have to control everything. Letting him control first, and then letting my husband lead and trusting in his leadership.
And listen to your wives, because they will let you know how you're leading.
That's the thing. Yeah, he's got to take the feedback though too.
You know what? And that's so good though, because that's a huge part of it, isn't it? Is being open to listening to, not just talking, but listening. Even like Pastor Perry was saying this morning with God.
Yep.
Yep.
Totally.
Just being open to that. And I'm just looking at my notes here. So your biggest. So if you do come across a problem, say, and you come to a standstill, do you set aside another time to talk about it, or do you just say, we're just going to pray about this? Is there something that you do?
Life. It does. It
depends. If it's pretty heated, we will give each other some space to like pray about it separately and ask, what's going on in our hearts that we need to fix before we come together and start to get this thing resolved.
Well, and that's where he wants to just like, let's fix it. Like I gotta do something. Let me know what's wrong. I need to fix it now. And I'm someone that needs to like back off, because I can react versus respond. And I know that about myself. I've reacted all my life, and that's what I really am trying to work on right now. It's all kind of how God's working in my life right now, is just really working on taking the time to be considerate in how I respond to him. And that doesn't always mean when something happens that we have to fix it right then and there. And so it's kind of been a struggle for you to do that with me, but
a little patience on that.
It's always hard to change.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it gives me the time, because sometimes I can be very prideful. I'm like, no, if he brings up something, I'm like, well, when you did this and that, and you're bringing it up about me, I have to sit back, bring God into it, take Jenna out of it, and let God reveal to me where it is that I need to work on, and then, either apologize to him or share my heart with him versus argue with him about what it is that we're going through at that moment in time. So
I love that you're open to doing that too, because it does take a humbleness to admit to yourself and to God, that you need to work on that or whatever, it's,
oh yeah.
yeah. It always comes back to that. Yeah, just like Pastor Perry was saying this morning too about pride, is at the root of all sin. It takes a humbleness to admit when we need to change and let him change us. Yeah.
That is the hardest part.
Yeah. So I'm just going to wrap that up with you guys, and I just appreciate so much you sharing with me. If there's anything, is there anything else that's like on your heart that you?
Yes, only
Yeah.
because it was one of your other questions was just kind of like what kind of tips and
Yeah.
advice. I think that flirting with your husband is huge. Having fun, being goofy, that we are like so goofy. We're so weird.
Well, that's what kind of...
I'll say weird. We're
like
weird.
we talked about earlier with the whole Facebook posting thing. We like to be just super real with each other in hopes that other people are going through those same things that we're going through, or other people can be weird towards each other. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, as far as marriage goes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a flirtatious kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think there's so much seriousness, in the world. It's a crazy world we live in, and there's so much heaviness that goes on in our daily lives that it's just so fun to just be fun with him and just lighten it up, because it doesn't always have to be heavy. And he's my absolute best friend. I mean, I truly believe that God just made him for me, and I couldn't imagine my life without him. And
Same here.
yeah,
Same here.
yeah.
It is.
Took the
It's
words
so
right out of my mouth.
Yeah.
I just love reading her posts because they're just so
They're silly.
so sweet to you. I mean, it's like,
Well,
oh my goodness.
And that's the other tip is love language. He's a words of
Yeah,
affirmation
yeah.
guy. And I know that.
Okay.
But it's not hard for me to affirm him, because he really is just an amazing person. He doesn't believe that about himself, but he really is, and he's not perfect. Like sometimes he likes to think he is.
I think that would be another tip, is definitely learning the love language that your spouse has, because we don't all react to certain things in certain ways.
Yeah.
So once we figured that out too, that was huge in our marriage.
But I think my love language has changed. Maybe that's just my hormones.
I haven't figured out your love
One day
language
I'm
yet.
words of affirmation. One day I'm acts of service. One day I'm gifts. It's like, it's just,
100%.
it's always a guessing game. It's how I keep him on his toes.
Do them all, and then you've
all
got
of
it
them.
covered. And
All the things.
yeah, exactly. Well, thank you very much. You've been a pleasure to talk with, and I'll just wrap this up later. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for having us.
It was awesome.
And we're done. Hi, I just wanted to wrap this up. It was such a pleasure to talk to Jenna and to David, and they have such a sweet relationship and heart for the Lord. It is just a blessing to see their young family. They have a 3 and a 6-year-old, and it's just, I see her Facebook posts all the time, and she's just pouring into them too, and it's a lovely family. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining me today. I hope this blessed you too. Bye.